Hi, everybody. Welcome to Unlimited Harmony. Welcome to Random Harmony. Welcome to Harmonic Freedom and a way to practice it for the rest of your life so that harmony is no longer sitting there and staring at your hands. So we'll start with just some music. One note is the eternal note, of which all other notes relate to. When you have an intimate knowledge of chords, they become like little characters in your play, you know? For example, this chord of hope. And that chord of, well, I don't know where we're all going. I think we can relate to this, can't we? I don't know where this is all going. Talking about the world. Sometimes there's a tinge of despair. Maybe too much despair. That's Phrygian. How about a little hope? How about a fresh start? Something happens surprisingly, and suddenly we're all optimistic. And we're almost boldly optimistic. But we still do like surprise. Now I'm going to play a little bit. What's happening here? That's all it takes to restate the theme. It often happens by accident, but you cycle through these never-ending chords. The question is, have you implanted them so that they come out that easily? A lot of people know what to do, but they can't do it in real time. And that's where it takes a special practice. But there's always hope, and you can get it. Why not? These two chords make me feel like we were just born. We move on. The power of chords. Why do these chords keep unfolding? They never run out. There are some composers, that's what they do. But where do they come from? What do they understand about theory that most people don't? There's a little Americana there. cautionary. And we're back. You know, theme and variation. Humans, it really is that simple. If you come back to this, you go, oh, it has a form, because that's where we started. But every chord can be done with this note. And we're going to do some of those experiments in a minute. For example, like E, D flat, G, C, F, E. Now we're back. E flat. That should go 2 to 5, but we won't. B flat. Anywhere you can stop and do a vamp, like a rest, like an oasis, from this universe of ever-changing chords. Repeating a motif, but having a chord outline the background. And we're back. Wow, this might be the whole harmony class, guys. Because if you have absorbed harmony, you don't have to keep stopping to look for it. It could be yours. Right now, what I'm doing right now in this webinar is trying to stop. I can't quite do it. This is just C sharp minor. Stay there and rest a while. Now, where am I going to land? Where did that come from? It came from a very simple place. I am going to stop soon, I'm sorry. But harmony really is intoxicating. John, why don't you put it on my hands for a second, for a little while? Watch. This is a C, and because of the A flat, it's some kind of an aeolian. I'm going to land on this A. So what note am I going to pick? B flat. With that flat 6, it also is an aeolian. Of course, if I just repeat these notes, it's a theme. How about an A major, sharp 5? And then if you want to darken it, Phrygian. You have to make friends with these chords. And to make friends with them, you have to be able to select them randomly. That's what we're going to talk about. How about a little hope? E. Let's go deeper into the soul. Oh, I just got to do this. There's a Phrygian but with a sharp 6. A major 6. Now if I just go down on my left hand to the A flat and I keep the A. But if I move the A up to B flat and keep the A flat. Keep the E, B flat, and I decide to go to G in the bottom. And now C. Wow, somebody stop me. A. All right, look, I'm going to make a piece out of this harmonic movement you're seeing. I'm going to improvise a piece. melody, which can wander on the theory of just intervals, not really attaching itself to a chord. And when you want to attach it to a chord, that's a resolution. And there was where we started, right? Sorry, very often I'm hypnotized by what my hands play. That's actually effortless mastery. So welcome, everybody. This particular focus today is about harmony. Now, many of you may have studied harmony, in a theory book. And theory gets a bad rap, probably deservedly. And sometimes people come up with unique stuff because they can't follow a theory book. I mean, I was ADHD. I've never finished a theory book in my life. Maybe a page here and a page there, which was what I recommend if you are using a theory book. But then I wanted to find theory that was so accessible that, the best function of theory, a little theory can put you in places that you don't understand. And once you find the theory, then you can practice your ear embracing it and understanding it. So theory, like I say, I'm just giving you an example, in jazz, the altered scale. There are a lot of people that will learn that but have no idea of the sound of it. Yet, if they give the theory, which is the order of notes, now you can find it in another key. And once you just use that theory, which is simply a formula, after a while, especially if you drop into the space, which a lot of my effortless mastery friends know what I'm talking about, you start to hear it. Well, it's the same thing with chords. I came up with a system. It starts with this system that I'm going to tell you about. And if you do it for the rest of your life, it leads to incredible harmonic freedom that never stops. We were at a beautiful Wayne Shorter dedication concert the other night. And I'm mentioning it because Wayne Shorter, maybe he didn't think about it the way I did, but there was no limit to his harmony. And it has to do with a couple of things. Basically, considering the bass note, then the type of chord, and if there's a melody note, what chords work with that melody note. This is basically the system. You probably know I'm going to be doing a class, and the class is 10 weeks of absorbing this system and coming out the other side, at least on your way to being what I call a harmonic being. There's no place you get stuck. This is the way most people try to reharmonize, for example. They look at the key, piano players. It works for guitar players too. The thing is, the guitar players have to find the voicings, as many of the greatest guitar players have, and they don't have necessarily the 5 or 6 notes, but it sparks beautiful chords that then move around. But this is the way most people reharmonize. They're looking at their hands, nothing's happening, they don't know what to do because they're seeing the whole thing. So this system causes reharmonization. All you have to do is pick a bass note. So right now, I want to show you, and I'm going to introduce you to my great friend Sid. He's the guy that facilitates everything. He's my angel, and I'm his angel. And what I have is a chord chart. It's simply the kinds of chords, traditionally, nothing weird, that exist. Okay, so Sid, can you show us that chart? And he did I just saw this today, so Sid must have been in a cartoon mode. But there it is. These are the ones that are always used. Anything else is some sort of polychord or weird intervallic thing. But basically, majors is major 7, which we all know. Major 7 sharp 5, which was the dominant chord of the 1970s, actually. Major 7 sharp 11, which was the major chord of the primary chord of the 1960s, and the sharp 9, which came along somewhere 80s, 90s. They're all pretty common now. If we could just go to unshare the screen, Sid, go to my hands for a second. I just want to demonstrate. Here's a major 7 chord. And here's a major 7 with a sharp 11. Here's a major 7 with a sharp 5. And what's very common today, a major 7 with a sharp 9. Okay, can we go back to the menu again, Sid? Now, when it comes to minor chords, people get in the habit of a certain minor, like people, maybe everything they do is Dorian. Or if they were, ECM lovers, it would be Phrygian. There was a lot of Phrygian, again, in the 70s and 80s. Locrian, which is a little difficult to deal with because it suggests a minor 7 flat 5, which is almost like 2-5-1 in minor. Minor major 7, there is a film noir chord that is usually forgotten about. And then my favorite, the Aeolian. So can we unshare the screen, Sid? So, and we'll go to my hands. So let's look at the different minors. I'm going to start on D. And if you just start exercising the different minors on the same root, you're already beginning to get my system. And you're also spontaneously composing. So here's Dorian. They're all minor. There's the 9th, the 11th, the 13th. And it can be voiced a lot of ways. Very interestingly, let's say I bring the 3rd up an octave. Even if I bring the 7th up an octave. Right? Now the Phrygian, this is Dorian. I mean, in my course, which is something we'll talk about later, we do get to know the order of the notes. Root, major 2nd, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7, 1. In Phrygian, 1, minor 2nd, or flat 2, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, flat 5th. And this has to do with, and everybody should become acquainted with it, each mode has to do with minor 6, minor 7, what degree of a major scale it's on. So, but it's really simple, but taking that formula, you can put in the other keys. And then Aeolian, which is a warmer, it's like Dorian, but it's warmer. That's because of this note. Major 7 is kind of like a harmonic, I don't even know what it is, but here. Now just exercising the difference in those modes on one note, and you already get a composition. Exercising that. Now, if I decide to pick a different route, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, and one more trip back to the chord menu. Sid? This is going very well. Technologically, it's going pretty good. As long as my earbuds don't run out of juice. So now, you see sus chords, but they're really the same as other chords. For example, just a sus, it's like a Dorian. That was a big chord from the modal times of the 60s and 70s. And just moving that around. Then a sus with a flat 6 is like this. I can go back. It's like a Dorian, but this minor 6 is the whole difference. It makes it warmer. Okay, and back to the chord menu, please. Now the sus flat 9 is like Phrygian. Back to the hands. Undo the screen set. It's sus because there's the sus. So it still is the same chords. And I put it in the menu because when you're thinking sus, they're built a little different. This would be a Phrygian chord. But with a sus, I'm sorry, that's a G Phrygian. Okay, a G Phrygian. But from a sus, it's like. And finally on there was dominant chords. And that's just with any kind of extension that you know about. Sharp 9. Flat 9, flat 13, sharp 11. Okay, so that's the chord menu. Sid, can you put that in the chat for people to download?
Yes, absolutely.
Great, so come back to me. Now, I'm gonna show you the root of this system. I'm sorry, I'm looking at myself and myself is looking away. The root of this system. Instead of being stuck with the whole vertical firewall of harmony, you pick a bass note. Then from that menu, you pick a chord. Or you pick 4 bass notes. This is the root exercise, 4 bass notes. So let's get them. Can somebody call out, unmute and call out a note? And then Sid, just keep a record of this.
B.
Yeah. Was that C?
B.
B, correct.
G flat.
C flat, no, that's the same note. Somebody else. 4
G
notes.
flat.
A flat.
D flat, G flat, A flat, I think I heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say B, D flat, G flat, A flat. Make a note of that, Sid. Now let's go back to the chord menu, Sid.
Just a moment right here.
Yeah. And now somebody's looking at this chord menu. Now this is important. Not trying to pick the right chords, but randomly, just like we randomly pick those bass notes, randomly pick something on that menu. Let's somebody call out a type of chord, just look at that menu.
Sus flat 9. Sus flat 9 Phrygian.
Okay, so the first chord is going to be a B sus flat 9 Phrygian. Somebody else?
Major 7 sharp 11.
It's going to be D flat. I do remember the roots. Major 7 sharp 11, you said, right. And then the next one was a G flat. Somebody pick a chord from there.
Aeolian.
Aeolian, that would be G flat Aeolian. And then I think you said A flat. Thank goodness I'm at least remembering this much. What's a chord that's on the bubbly menu there, on the cartoon menu?
Major 7 sharp 9.
Major 7 sharp 9. So Sid, you wrote that down, right?
Yes.
Can you? Yeah. Are you going to be able to share that just so I don't have to remember it?
Yeah. 1 second.
So understand what I mean by random harmony. The bass notes were picked randomly. The types of chords were picked randomly. If there's such a thing as right chord progressions, this shouldn't work, right? Let's find out. Oh, sorry. It's nice already. Must have got lucky. Come back to me. See? We must have got lucky. Did everybody like that? For being random, it was pretty interesting, right? In fact, if you had written that, it might have been the greatest progression you've ever written. There must have been an accident. It must have been an accident. Let's change the type of chords. Keep the bass notes, and then let's hear, you guys should have the menu now, or at least in your head, so we don't have to keep going back to it. There's the modes, there's the dominant chords, and there's the major chords. Somebody call out a chord.
Major 7.
Okay, straight major 7. That's the first one, Sid. Another one?
Dominant 7, flat 13.
Say that again with the flat 13.
Dominant 7 with the flat 13.
Dominant 7 with a flat 13, Sid. Magic trick. Okay. Another one?
Dominant alternate with an alternate, what does that mean?
Well,
Alt.
it'll be another dominant with any of the altered notes. Okay. So the third chord's going to be, so it's going to be 2 dominants in a row there. And one more type?
Minor 6th.
What was that?
Minor 6.
Minus 6. So we're saying Aeolian, really. Okay. Sid, can you put that up on the screen? And save the other ones. I hope you did. And let's just see it. That's only because then otherwise I'd have to remember it. So now we have 8 chords, but the same roots. So let's see, this also shouldn't work, right? Or doing another place. Again, not too bad, right? So what happens if I play all of them? Now I've just come up with an interesting chord progression, so leave it there for a moment. Okay, and you can unshare the screen, Sid. So, I think you can guess, but I have asked this many times, why any of them work. I mean, let's do another one. Let's pick 4 different roots, and I don't really have to ask anybody. I'll pull them out of a hat. You ready, Sid? C. Actually, let's do it in cycle of fifths. C, F, B flat, E flat. Now, if those are all dominant, that's a very common chord progression. But let's pick chords now. I'll pick them, you got the idea now. Aeolian, Phrygian, major 7 sharp 5, major 7 sharp 9. Can I see that, Sid? This is a standard chord progression. But the chords are not standard. So you won't be able to tell this is cycle of fifths. Okay, come back. Let me ask you right now, do you have any questions about how this is working? Or does anybody know why this is working?
Voice leading.
That's it, sir, whoever that was. Voice leading is the glue that glues chords together, which means any chord can go after any chord with any chord. Like if I just play 2-5-1, they can sound unrelated. And that's the most connected chord progression in the Western world. What makes it sound right is. So likewise, if you voice lead unrelated chords, they sound like the right progressions. But practicing it gives you something more than just if you do it, let's say you use this system and you write a cool tune that's got really different changes than you've ever used. That's great, but that's like just taking a bauble out of a treasure chest. The treasure is becoming a harmonic being, running this over and over again until you're used to, you pick a bass note, you pick a type of chord, and you're there. So if I was going to improvise, and let's say there's a little bit of rhythm on it, B flat, Aeolian. Sid, call out a note.
E,
B. Notice I kept some of the chord notes together, so it sounds like a codified progression. Another note, Sid.
F,
Another note.
A,
Every once in a while, you get off the merry-go-round and you do something that feels familiar or romantic or whatever. So you see, it's really a powerful thing, but it should be practiced over and over again. So one example is picking the roots and picking the types of chords and voice idiom. Another example is not doing random bass notes, but just changing the type of chords. So I'm going to do one of the most standard bass lines that ever existed. I can go to my hands, I guess. Doesn't get any more basic than that, right? And usually it goes along with a progression something like this. There are a few alterations. But if I keep that bass line and I pick other chords, so Aeolian, B flat, Phrygian. The bass line is very familiar. Phrygian again, because you've got the same notes. And then major 7. Major 7. Sus. Aeolian. Major 7 sharp 11. So I can, using the same bass line but changing the chords, it might be like this. That's the power of a standard bass line, but you have the whole palette of chords. Another good thing of practicing this is that you get comfortable with certain chords and certain keys, but if your choice of bass notes are random, and if your choice of chords are random, you are forced into what used to be disjointed situations. See, I have something I call the theory of relativity. This only came along recently. Now, you may have heard of another theory of relativity. I think it's infinitely more complicated. This theory of relativity simply says that every note is related to every other note. So when it comes to chords, if you practice interchanging chord types without deciding which are the right ones, you end up with an endless palette which can be used for so many things. If I'm just improvising, let's say I'm sure there's some pianists here, I'm doing a solo piano thing, right? How many times has someone played a solo piano or a guitar and you get stuck? You don't know where to go next. So I'm just going to think a little out loud. Solo piano intro. Oh, now what? A flat. C. Aeolian. A major sharp 11. Okay, now you see how I'm thinking. This is how I keep moving, okay? Could always go to this. If you go to the root first, you never run out of ideas. B flat. E. E. Oh my God, where to go? E flat. And the chord follows very quickly, but that's where the training comes in. You train yourself by taking 4 bass notes, 4 random types of chords, and voice lead them. And you do that every day like brushing your teeth. You know, the theory of practicing an effortless mastery is like brushing your teeth. You're not heading towards a destination. You just do the same thing every day. You don't brush your teeth and think, wow, I'm really getting somewhere here. Nor do you do with this. You pick 4 bass notes, you look at the menu, you grab them randomly, and then you make them work. So I'll take any questions right at this point, because there's another couple of uses for this. Anybody want to comment? Yes. Yes.
So it sounds like it's unlearning and just using your ear.
Well, see, that's the funny thing. Most people don't have, this is why, this is very good theory. This is theory for the uninspired theory people like myself. This theory will engineer you somewhere that you don't hear. Then you drop into the space and you allow yourself to hear it. But how'd you get there? If you didn't know these type of chords, they wouldn't happen because you don't hear them. If you didn't know that if you didn't go from F sharp to a C instead of F sharp to whatever you think it's supposed to be. So I'm just saying F sharp, C. I'm saying major 7 sharp 11. I'm saying Aeolian. So that's a little bit of theory, but it took me to 2 chords that I might have never played before. What it undoes is the notion that there's the right progression. And it's even a very powerful tool for reharmonization, which is where it benefits not just pianists or guitarists. It can really benefit arrangers and composers. And I'll show a few examples of that too. Does that explain it to you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
have a-
okay. Yes,
Can I ask? So
please.
it feels like my brain is kind of trying to keep up with you. There's a certain amount of fluidity that's necessary to understand, but like to move from Aeolian to Phrygian to sus. Do you recommend specific exercises to sort of have that at your fingertips? Is that kind of what the course is?
Yes, the course is to eventually more and more have it at your fingertips. I was using it to show you I could perform with it. But what you would do, the root exercise, and it's done all the way through the course. 4 bass notes. So Sid, write these down. F sharp, C sharp, D, G. That wasn't picked for any right reason, right? Now, can I see the chord menu again? I think it was F sharp, C sharp, D, G, right? There's our little cartoon there. So whoever asked me that question, I'm going to ask you to pick 4 chords, and all you do is just let your eyes glaze over them. You don't try to find the right one.
Okay. Sus Dorian.
Pick
Aeolian.
another one.
Aeolian. Major 7, sharp 9.
Was the next one G, for, Sid?
That was D, Kenny.
D. Okay, major 7, sharp 9.
Phrygian.
And that was G. So you see, we're going slow enough. And during the course, I will, you know, like you see this overhead. Can you put the overhead on again? I don't remember exactly what you just said. The first one was, did you happen to write that down, Sid?
Yes, Kenny. So the
Yeah.
first one is F sharp, sus Dorian.
Right. So, you know, I'll show you tried and true ways of building a chord, but they have to be practiced so they don't come to you. So there's the minor third. Oh, sorry. The minor 7, and I put the third on top. Okay. So the next chord was what, Sid?
Next
C,
chord was
C sharp.
yeah, sorry, C sharp Aeolian.
Right. So from there, the thing that moves the most is my left hand. C sharp, it's got to be a C sharp. The Aeolian is right there. And then if I just move the minor 6 down a half step. So you take the time to allow the logic of these unrelated chords to work. And then the next one was D. What was it again?
The next one was D major 7 sharp 9.
And the last one was G.
Phrygian.
Phrygian.
G Phrygian.
Okay, so this goes down to here. I'd probably put the 5th down, maybe the 7th. There's the Phrygian note, and the 4th. And during the course, I'll talk about the quality of these chords a lot more. So those were 4 very sparkling sounds, but you can come back. But you have the time to really see how one chord to move to another. And more important than the time is the practice. You practice it. After a while, you start to see connections that you were never able to see before. Or if you even want to get yourself out of trouble, you don't try to think of a whole chord, you just think of a bass note. And from that bass note, you can pivot the whole balance of the universe. But it's the practice, it's the practice that allows you to become a harmonic being. Too often we're introduced to something, I mean, that's college, really. You're introduced to something and you just studied it just long enough to not embrace it, not to understand it, and then you're studying something else. What I found as not being a good student that way is that if I absorb myself in the same idea, it starts to become a language that then can come out of me. So that's kind of the concept. So what you're seeing when I'm playing is that's how fast I'll think of bass note, I'll think of type of chord. So anybody else before I show you some more examples of this?
Aubrey
Question-
asked, sorry,
got a question on the voice leading. Are you aware of every single note you're playing and the direction or the outside voice? Or how do you think about the voice leading when you have that many notes switching at a time?
The thing that gives us the most of voice leading, and this is a part of the practice too, I haven't gone to this yet, but is the top note. For example, I'm going to play F major, I'm going to my hands again. F major, Lydian, right? Now give me, whoever that was, give me a name, a note.
To a B.
A B, and give me a give me a type of chord from the menu.
Like a B major 7.
I'm going to do this with the top. Actually, let's do it this way. There's the top. Just because the top is doing that, it doesn't matter what those chords are. So somebody call out a note. I know this is kind of archaic, but somebody call out a note. Anarchistic. All right, you know what? This would be better if I just do it, because we're going to have people. Okay, E flat. Sid, you call out notes. Don't think about right and wrong. There's 12 notes, just pick one.
Okay, F
So
sharp.
watch how they're going to all relate. They're going to all relate because of this on the top. And everything else is going to be relatively close. Go ahead, Sid.
F sharp.
F sharp.
C.
C? Is that what you said? C?
That C is what I said.
Oh, I'll say C. That's so I'm not hearing you too well. Call out another chord.
E. C sharp.
You know what? I'll do it. Because suddenly you're a little muffled. C, E, B flat, D flat, G, C sharp, G, C sharp. Those chords were mostly related because the melody note just went down half steps. Can you see that? Person asked that question?
Yeah, yes. So you're shaping the outside, the upper notes in a melodic fashion, and you're not just basically looking at the voice leading from the chord to the next one with the tension way wants to resolve, but more playing outside harmonic line, melodic line from the outside voice.
Except if I'm practicing this, then I'm going to take my time moving from the first chord and see how close, I can go to my hands again. So let's say the first two chords were F major 7 sharp 11, and the next chord was, not a chord, it's right here. Okay? So now the menu becomes a little smaller when there's a melody note. This can't be every kind of chord, nothing with an 11 in it because this is a sharp 11. So obviously it's this, but it could also be minus 7 flat 5. Let's do that because people don't use it much. The next one was a B flat. I think I hit a C sharp. I can go. That's like 2-5. Let's do something else. So you see they do voice lead. So now I'm going to go to the A. Let's say G and my favorite chord, Aeolian. You can see the compositional potential of that, right? Because you can just go, or, you know, I did, if you saw the videos that I'm advertising for the webinar, okay, I can change. I think I did Silent Night and I did, what was the other one? Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. So when you have this more, I mean, you may not ever be able to just do it off the top of your head, but what a composing tool, what a composition tool, what a way of slowly over time incurring more and more juxtaposition in your chords rather than, and then when you go back and look at the great pieces of Jobim or, you know, Yvonne Lin's, or when it comes to harmony, I'll always take the Brazilians, okay? But when something's so harmonic, they do surprising things because the melody might tie it together. So I'm going to use Amazing Grace, which is a tune I really love. First, I'll do it the regular way, okay? I hope you all get to feel this way with your instrument. Actually, you can go back, John. Other angle. I don't think everybody would pick it up that way, but I want you to see me playing it. The reason this sounds so good has more to do with effortless mastery. I'm not playing it. If you study with me, you're studying effortless mastery because I don't know any other way to play. I'm not playing it, I'm receiving it. first I'm going to use cycle of fifths, okay? And it doesn't matter where I start. This is something that will happen during the thing too, because you hear like Bill Evans and the really harmonic piano players doing something that the beboppers weren't doing. They were actually going back to cycle of fifths a little further. So I'm going to start from F sharp. And then you get lucky. I'm going to play a tune over and over again, and because of this kind of practice, I can reharmonize it differently every time. F sharp, C, G. So using a simple melody and choosing different bass notes, you can come up with really radical stuff. Now, as a composing tool, the stuff you come up with, you take away the melody and you've got a hell of a chord progression. Any more questions about this?
What about
Kenny,
when
go
you're
ahead.
concept, Kenny?
All right,
Yes.
Can you,
Sid, can you referee?
yeah, can you just raise your hands and I'll just
That
call
would be
you guys
great,
up.
yeah.
All right, I see TL. TL, you wanna go?
Hi, Kenny. How you doing, man? Good to see you again.
Good, how you doing? Oh.
I have a question, and I've studied with you for a while, so I want to throw this in there. Apart from effortless mastery and good voice leading, is there any other reason they sound as good as they do when you play?
No, that's the two reasons.
That really it? Because some of it doesn't, some of the voice leading wouldn't qualify as conventional good voice leading either in some places.
Well, here's a mystical principle about sound in general. I'm just talking about the piano now. When you introduce somebody who's always played folk music forever, just a 2-5-1, you're like, because their ears aren't tuned to it, it sounds like this. There is a mystical principle here. When you become familiar with a sound, even though it's a mechanical instrument, a hammer hitting a string, a key hitting a hammer, a Rube Goldberg thing, but when the player has absorbed the sound, it comes out like, so I could, look, I'm going to just do a little experiment with you because I'm completely attuned to every possible sound that the piano plays. So I'm going to play really out there and tell me if it still doesn't feel in here. And then we'll go to the next question. Someone's waiting. Okay, whoever you are is beautiful. See, now you have a nice duo. But you were unmuted, whoever that is. So, okay, whoever's doing that, please mute, because otherwise we could just switch this to a concert, which you could. So did you notice that the piano sounds equally understandable?
Absolutely.
Like I can do
Well,
this.
it always does when you play.
Well, it has to do with, well, now you're talking about effortless mastery. I let my
Exactly.
hands choose the notes, and I let my mind step out of the way. In this case, we're talking about doing it with harmony. Let's say you find two chords and they really sit there. Now you want to get out of the way and let the hands play them, and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, there's that sound. Like if I keep talking to you, it's another subject, but you know, these subjects always come up in my classes because it's all about the instrument playing itself. That's really the miracle. And it can happen, but you have to be able to not try to quantify what's going on. This is where my hands go. I can't find anything that doesn't resonate just as much as in this case, the organizing principle is that melody. It has to do with, if we're talking about piano playing, feeling the sensuality of pressing the buttons. In this case, we're pressing the buttons, or we're even on guitar, we're finding, and that takes a little coaching. Find the implication of a chord, because you can't play all those notes, but you can play those chords and have an amazing sequence of juxtaposed chords. But that's why it sounds like that. I mean, oh God, all old examples. If there's a favorite, well, these days it's a different day, right? If you have a dog, let's say that, and whenever you think of the dog, you want to pet that dog, right? Just like that, right? Your understanding there is this delight in touching, right? Then you might go to the piano and you have a totally different understanding. Instead of feeling like dipping your hands in warm water, it feels more like touching a hot stove. So that's, yeah. If you find that, that happens to be with equal resonance, which actually opens everything up way beyond harmony to the whole universe of sounds. It doesn't really matter where my hands go. Although if you study the harmony, they'll sort of suggest harmony. Let's say you're not doing this system, they'll still suggest harmonies. With this system, it's, oh, sus with a major 7. E, but not, the next note is E, but different chord. Right? Let's just go cycle of fifths. From, I think, or I did that right, from B flat, but not the dominant chords. That's going to be some kind of a Phrygian. Then any kind of a major, because the top note is a major third. Sharp 5. D flat, it could be anything with a sharp 11. Could be minor 7 flat 5. Next one's F sharp. Top note there is a sharp 11. But it also could be a flat 5 chord. Next one is a B. That's going to be this is part of what we practice. It's going to be the 11th on top. That could be any of the minors, even minor major. Next one is E, and that's just lucky. Minor major 7. Get an E over E flat, it's going to be opposite. And end on an A flat. Could be a sus, the major 3rd. You dig?
Wow, so good.
Yeah, it has to be studied repetitively, and then it starts to occur to you. Maybe sometimes at first it's just on paper. On paper is very valuable because you can put it somewhere that your hands won't go yet. I see a lot of hands raised, so let's do some questions.
So we have
Thank you, by the
Nick.
way.
You call them out, Sid.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
Okay,
Nick.
thank you. Yeah, so I was just curious, what kind of voicing, other than the top note, what kind of chord voicings do you recommend to practice this?
I would use. I think because it's already a complex juxtaposition, that you definitely keep the bass note. So let's say you got a G and you decided F. Now, can you go to my hands, John? Okay, what chord are we talking about? Remember, now it has to be a chord that the major second, or ninth is part of. So if you look at the chord menu, let's say Aeolian. I'm definitely going to get that in because that's the Aeolian note. And then the minor third. And I guess I'll add the fifth. You build them one at a time. Now, let's say we're going to go to the melody note is, that's not the first exercise. The first exercise is no melody note. Picking the bass note, picking a type of chord, and then voice leading them. So I will say, well, I'm going to do the melody because I'm doing it. I'm going to E. Bass note, C sharp. That could be Aeolian. It could be dominant, the sharp 11. It could be minor major 7. See, they're all really basic in a way. You put in the key tones and you add a couple of tones or subtract them or move them up an octave or down an octave. And that's part of the study. What else? With a minor third, minor major 7, Aeolian, Dorian. You know, so you have your you pick your bass note and you build the chords. They're really kind of fundamental. You know, add the chord tone that makes that tone. Then add the notes from that scale. Take them in. At some point, I'll ask you to do like, all right, here's a C sharp minor Dorian. Okay, so here's your first voicing. Try moving things, go across the line and move things up and down and see what you get. And when you find something that's surprising, you put a circle around it.
I see. So there's no set voicing. It's just pretty much the tones, but there's not like a set. Yeah, there's not a set like put the third next or the fifth, second or whatever like that. You just have to find the right combination that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, for people that are less experienced with this, you want to make sure you have the tones that identify that chord. So I'm saying dominant 7. I'll go back to it. Yeah, there's a D flat dominant 7.
Right.
Okay, now after that, you've got the sharp 11 or the flat 13. You have the sharp 9. What if I play them all? What if I move the sharp 9 up an octave? What if I move up the C sharp? So it's by moving things around that you start to experience alternate ways of voicing it. But the voicings are just come along as you're practicing these random chords. So if I started here, and now let's say G minor Dorian. Okay, this is going to go here. The G goes to F. The A stays. You find these little nuggets from one chord to another. So look at this. See what I mean?
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
It takes patient work, which is why it's good to stay with it for a while. And notice you're starting to get a groove on this. You're going to practice this with a consistency that you brush your teeth. Like with no destination. It's just, even 2 chords together daily will change you over time. So let's try Robert. I see a hand up. Robert.
What about when you're comping?
Well, if you're comping for someone else, you're not doing this because unless they have perfect pitch, they're not going to move with you.
Right.
But I will say, if I start doing wild stuff on the tune and the bass player only knows the root things, I don't mind the clash. That gets back to what the guy asked earlier. Nothing really clashes for me. So let's say we're supposed to be playing A flat 7 and I go A minor. I'm going to enjoy that. But that's a little eclectic, you know. But But let's say you compose something from having reharmonized Amazing Grace. All right, take this down for a second, Sid, okay? I'm doing Amazing Grace, F minor, major 7. B minor Dorian. E flat sus. D flat major 7, sharp 11. Okay, did you get that, Sid? It's a little fast.
Yeah,
I hope I don't
I
have to
got it.
repeat it. Okay, can you share the screen?
Yep.
This is really wild. You can compose endlessly by just reharmonizing the same thing. So all right, so you see that? Forget Amazing Grace. Then the melody sort of voice leads. Okay, you can take it down. So this will uncover incredibly colorful chord sequences, which you can then write melodies. And I would ask you to do some exercises in that. Before going off the rails, let's just say the easiest thing. I don't remember what they were now. Whatever it was. So it leads to this unending composition as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
John.
John?
Hey, Kenny, this is really interesting. So thank you so much for sharing it.
You're
I guess
welcome.
the thing is, as an arranger or composer, and you sort of played an example of it when you started with Amazing Grace on today's program, because you started with a more kind of conventional approach, but it seems like this is obviously very dense structure as a result from this. You're playing 5, 6, sometimes 7 note voicings. And I wonder how you transition from, kind of simpler, basic, obviously one voice is a melody, 2 voices is a counterpoint. If they're playing together, maybe it's, hinting at harmonic structure. But sort of the minimal number of voices you get with a melody note that's outside a triad is 4. So I just
When you're
wonder,
working on, yes.
well, so the question basically is, do you find that the principles that you're using here are able to be used with, sort of simpler harmonic structure in the same way? And do you do that? Or is it just, hey, here's another approach when things start to get more dense? This is a menu that I can choose from to kind of mix.
This is a great question. I don't think I ever got the question. No, I tend to use the hands, but let's just try that for a second. Your name is John?
Yeah.
John, what if I took the simplest chords, but I still picked the random bass notes? So
Well, that's
give
sort
me
of
a
my
bass note.
question in a way. Yeah, exactly.
So give me a bass note.
B flat.
Another bass note.
D flat.
E flat?
D flat, E
Yeah,
flat,
that's-
whatever.
And now look at this. You're deriving a structure that could become its own kind of intervallic thing. Another note, please.
D.
G.
Can you
Another
switch
note.
camera angle?
Sorry?
D.
D. So yes, it absolutely could do that. But if I just took those 4 chords I just did, which were just these almost intervals, I could create a whole composition just out of that.
Yeah.
So you
it's a
see,
really
it allows. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you, but it's a really interesting system. And I was just trying to see, if it can be used in that more sort of really simple, like almost cantus firmus kind of approach,
Listen, it could be this. If you make the bass notes random, F, B flat, E flat, A. I'm not thinking of that because it works. I just said F. I said B flat, E flat, A. Now, let's say I just keep one note, B. What was the next one? So yeah, they can move in 2 voices or 3 voices. It's the moving of the bass line that liberates it.
As a bass player, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, you have to hit the bass player to it. A couple more.
Alex?
Oh, hi, Kenny. My name is
Hi.
Stella. Thank you so much for taking the time. I was wondering, I'd be curious to hear what your approach is in sensing and feeling. Would you relate this approach to like taking a walk?
Did you say dancing?
No, but I could.
What were those 2 words?
Approach, I think. So
Approach.
I'd be curious to hear if your approach, if you could relate it to taking a walk outside or telling a story, if that would be a way to describe it, or is it more like a dream that doesn't really have?
Well, I don't think it's any of those things. What happens is if you dream or you walk outside,
Yeah.
the language that you already possess is the language that comes out. I know, because I'll be sitting there and just, why am I hearing this tune over and over again? I mean, I love the poetry of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But acquiring language and becoming familiar enough with it, that's my concept. That's why you spend a lot of time doing the same thing. You know, if you went to school, then you knew you were doing something different every week. Did that happen to you, Alice? Did you go to school? Yeah, every day almost. What sunk in? Nothing. When you get out of school, you can pick a few things that can unlock a lot of music and you just stay with them. So if you're familiar enough, I'm going to reharmonize Body and Soul, okay? Alice, just stay with you. Give me a bass note. I mean, this might not be your music, but I just want to show you something.
Okay, E.
E? Give me another note.
F sharp.
Another note. This is already the most radical arrangement of Body and Soul. Another note.
A flat.
A flat. Another note.
B.
Another note.
Oh, I thought everybody's coming in.
No, stay with Alice, because then we get that happening. Alice.
Okay. Flat.
What was it?
B flat.
E flat. Isn't that amazing? No, one more note, 2 more notes, 3 more notes. Give me another note.
A sharp.
Another one?
E.
One more.
C. We go back.
You know, I knew you were going to say that. It's funny, and some of you who studied with me before, you know this happened. I say, give me a note. Very often, it's the note I think that's the one you gave. But that alone could be a symphony. So you have to see the value of it compositionally. So going back to your question, the only things that occur to you while you're taking a walk or dream, I mean, it's funny because dreaming, I have dreamt music that I didn't understand. And then I had to do some theory. I mean, I think I didn't find everything I didn't understand, but I'm amazed by applying something that over and over again, it opens up a world.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be hearing things when you're walking or dreaming that you weren't hearing before.
Yeah.
And then if you're not trying to reharmonize body and soul, it's just the way you start to think.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our favorite players are doing that. I guess they did it somehow differently, but I come up with a system of expanding your the relativity of everything you play.
Mm-hmm. And
so let's try another question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me just show you one more thing. Let's say you're, another thing, Sid, take down these notes. Oh, I don't know, C, F, B flat, E flat. Right? Take down these chords, Phrygian, Aeolian, dominant, major 7 sharp 11. You got them? You got that?
Yeah, the last
Speed
one was
writing.
major 7 sharp 11.
Sharp 11, yeah, nothing fancy, right? So can you, I'm just going to do this so you can show my hand, John. I'm just going to do this. Or I'll go. So I got the arc of a melody without having to worry about the harmony at all. You can come back to these. Now put those chords up, Sid. Right? You write that down as like a blank slate. I'm just the same arc. I'll start at the top. You guys, okay, take it out, Sid. If you voice lead with the melody, voice lead with random bass notes, and it becomes a habit, you're going to open up this incredible world of treasures, of harmonic morphing, things, one thing morphing into another.
We got Chris. We got 3 more people. We got Chris.
Yeah, we can do a few more. Yeah, we can do a few more. Sure. Chris?
Hi, Kenny. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
I had
welcome.
asked in a previous lecture about as a lyricist, I had the concept of like how Galper would talk about forward motion or about like looking around the corner from a drummer's perspective. And you said, don't really think about that. You said you don't know where that came from. To check out Miles and Coltrane, I'm pretty sure you talk about a TV show. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the famous one on that one TV show.
So what?
Black and white. So what? Exactly.
I think I was talking about resolution. Yeah.
What's that?
Well, the way Hal put it, I call it resolutions, but it's a different subject. Rhythmically resolving, harmonically resolving. Yeah. What's your question, if it's a question?
So my question is, before I was thinking about melody, and I've learned a lot about that, from really checking out what Coltrane, what his body language was saying as far as Miles. And as far as when you're on the piano, when you're thinking more chorally, if you will, since we're talking about voice leading, and the haptics and the sensuality of the piano, how does body language, I guess what I'm trying to put is, just how does body language relate to it? I can see it for myself, but I'm curious what you'll say.
It doesn't relate. It's a result. Here's body language when you are not comfortable with what you're doing. That's a body language. When you're comfortable with what you're doing, that's a body language. So in Effortless Mastery, which I'll teach again later in the year, if you don't have to choose the notes, the body language is acceptance and familiarity. This doesn't work because I know something about music. A non-musician could do this. It's 88 buttons. Now, if you put it into a form and you don't have a comfort with that form, that's going to be a different body language, as you naturally are going to scuffle to make it work. So that's sort of Effortless Mastery. The other thing that you kind of brought up several things. As far as lyrics, for me, in order to irrigate creativity, the second step is that if I move my hands and then I just get out of the way, this is like the therapy of Effortless Mastery. I believe a non-musician can push these buttons and plunge into a world of creativity because of the theory of relativity. Every note equals every note. The lyric equivalent might be, like automatic writing and then pulling out things and seeing if you sculpture them down. It's a very different subject. Body language to me is, I'm either trying or I'm receiving. I'm either challenged or I'm very comfortable with the material. Some of the things you were talking about, also the walk of the dream, I don't know how you can, at least not for me, how you can plan that. It's more like the result of your journey. So, you know, so as if people become increasingly comfortable with, here's F major 7 sharp 11. You can put it on there, John. Very simple. The 3rd, sharp 11 or sharp 5. The 6th, the major 7, and the 9th. First of all, take a breath and get comfortable with that. And then I'm going to say A flat, Phrygian, but with a major 6. So that's enough, really, if you're talking about body language. As your hands get more comfortable, that's the practice. That's for a pianist. If your hands get more comfortable, then you start to resonate with something that was unknown to you before. G, major 7 sharp 11. C sharp, Dorian. F, major dominant 7. You know, the body language is one of comfort. So when it's practice, it should be out of time. And then the more you get, oh, okay, I'm hip to this, you can start applying it, say, to melodies. It's great. You can either apply even the bass line. What if I just do this? You know, Chris, what you're talking about is how music transforms you. And if you're not familiar with it, then you're locked on the outside, and that's a certain body language. And lack of connected. You know you're creative, but assuming I don't know how many jazz players we have here, but you know you're creative and someone calls a tune and suddenly you're not creative. There's a very simple answer for that. The tune is not easily well known. This is not emphasized enough. But somebody say, you know, do some stuff on this tune. Yeah, wait, man, I'd be doing well just to be able to play this tune. You have to honor that. And when the tune plays easily, the different things come from it in concentric circles. You do more things. Here, I'm going to play all the things, I was going to say, Stella by Starlight. This is a combination of my rhythmic study, my harmonic study, and my melodic study. But it goes to the purpose of coming out of me. You know, you can't just have that. You go on a journey, and this is sort of, people have studied the steps with me. If you don't learn to accept and appreciate what it is you can do, then you're always on the outside looking in. And music is not pleasant that way. Everybody thinks, I just got to get to this point. You know, otherwise it wasn't worth the time. If you feel that way, the most empowering thing you can do now is stop. Because music is about, like life, is about appreciating what it is you can do. And really working on that appreciation. Because if it's all about expectation, this is the book, you know. If it's about expectation, it's about disappointment. Does anybody have a different take on that? Has anybody found the joy of expectation? I don't think so. Now, if you study this, right? You can channel right today. If you are within the
getting spiritual,
all right, so I'm going to go
getting out of your. Sorry.
Right. So if I do this, slightly change the subject, but I'm always down for this subject because without this, the music doesn't make any sense. Hey, look, it can't be virtuosity that makes music valuable. Okay, because there's music based on this. Okay. We're all going on a little journey now. When you study with me, you know that we break the subject and go on a journey any time. Because this is far more important than the technology of what you're playing. If God or the higher power, or whatever arranged this universal thing, made all the inspiration of the entire universe available just from this, and you were more in tune to that than your ego, and you really were, right? What else would you need? I figured out, hey Ma, I figured out how to play today. This can take you everywhere. But since all notes are relevant, relative in the universal consciousness, there's nothing I could play that would not carry me further. This is not from knowledge. A non-musician could do this. Now, if I start computing, wow, it was major, then it was minor. No. This has to do with the universality of all intervals. Now, processing it from the ego, you say, oh yeah, this is a kind of a, atonal Eric Satie, or, you know what I mean? We contextualize, and in contextualizing, we miss the whole point. If you commit to
Thank you. I'm a
sound.
bass player, so I'm a bass player, so I get a lot of what you're saying, especially with that last 1-5. Thanks.
Well, we're attempting to learn something sophisticated by not moving on. Re-experience it, re-experience it, re-experience it. After a while, you go, wow, I'm starting to get back to that universal thing, but I'm pivoting. Or I'm an arranger. If you're an arranger, you can use this today. However, I would point you to, is it Willow Weep for Me? Bob Brookmeyer arrangement. Bob Brookmeyer was the first guy, as I listened to it, started to explain it to me. I mean, not him, it. I said, wow, he's got the melody moving. He's changing the bass notes. It really just comes down to that. If you keep doing that, you're going to plunge into this other world. So somebody else? We can do a few more.
Yeah, Andrea.
Thank you. Yeah, this is great. Have you ever found somebody who can really follow you without having perfect pitch?
Well, no, the point is not, when I'm doing it off the top of my head, probably I have, but they didn't tell me that. It's the exercise, 4 bass notes, 4 types of chords, and you read and you do it every day. What I'm showing you is the result when that becomes very familiar.
No, I understand. And I remember talking to Wallace Roney about this, and he said that's what Miles said. He said every note fits every chord.
Well, that goes beyond this, because I'm doing this with specifically actual chords to show that the random order of them with voice leading, it's like sort of freedom within boundaries. Because what Miles said here, I'm being serenaded now. These are chords in the sense that there's a spatial reality. I'm not really computing what they are, but because of what Wallace Rooney said about what Miles said, they all resonate.
Right.
Which you can build that over a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, yours sounds better.
Well, maybe I practiced this harmonic thing. But you also practice receiving every sound. There. All right, you might kind of have the overhead. Here, this is kind of a chord. If I change this to an A, it's just as good. If I change it to a B, a G. If I change it to a C, I move the left hand. Voice leading gives the illusion of form.
Right.
This particular system, we're doing it within the conventional chords.
Question. It's got a question.
All right, go ahead.
I practice extensively to your play along free play. As a sax player, it seems that at the point it just becomes a tonal music where the only thing that matters is intervallic consonance or dissonance and no direction when you're deep into it. How long do you keep the functional harmony in mind? Because after a while, it feels like you're in the bath, and the functional
depends on
harmony
the
becomes a
premise.
hindrance. Okay.
Oh yeah, it depends on the premise. If it is functional harmony, I want to be as fluid as possible. That's what this does. I'm going to play A minor Aeolian. I'm going to go C sharp Phrygian. I'm practicing fluidity within a harmonic system, which presumes that I've done these exercises of juxtaposing random things. What you're talking about, I have a thing out that was one of the play-alongs. Jamie Abersol asked me to do a play-along, and I never really liked the play-alongs. You play the rhythm section plays and you blow over it. I said, I'll only do it if I can do a free music one. It's great. You should get it. It's really great.
I've played
it's actually a great
years.
record.
It changed my life.
Yeah, well, there I'm not thinking harmony. I'm thinking the juxtaposed notes, but the other unifying form there is rhythm. If I go, it doesn't really matter what notes I play. What's making that relative is the rhythmic agreement.
Yeah, that free play is life-changing if you practice with it for a long time.
Yeah, well, if you practice this exercise for a long time, things are going to change. This is more, it's not so much for the linear player, although you can create your own progressions and then adapt your lines to that. It's for the player that composes, rearranges, arranges, pianists and guitar players that get stuck. How many times has somebody been playing like this? And those of you who can relate, and you go, okay, what do I do next? You know, and then you don't want to do, nobody wants to be standard, so this would be, nobody wants to do that, you know. Okay, so I'm painted into a corner, C minor. I say F sharp. I say F sharp. I say minor major 7. It just broke me out of jail. Well, now what? Okay, B flat, I say. Major 7, sharp 9. This is a great practice. It really opens yourself up. And random is better because then you don't rely on the progressions that you're so used to.
Kenny, we have James.
Let's take one or two more, and then I'll introduce this course to you.
Yep. James, go ahead.
James?
So basically, this approach would be more of like, because everything is relative to one another, all notes are relative. Because I'm looking at the way that you're playing, and it kind of puts me in the mind of how Bill Evans would arrange some of his voicings, with just using what's needed, not so much as trying to just fill up everything. Like, whatever the third and seventh is of that chord gives it its quality, and then you're just adding, like, you know, color to that.
Right.
Which would voice lead perfectly anywhere, because it'd just be a movement of either a half step or a whole step away to get to the next chord.
Right, but James, let's say you came up with a juxtaposition of stuff, and then you had to take the time to find the voicing, and then take the time to let that voicing morph into the next one. What would it do to your whole harmonic portfolio? That's the idea. Because if I start here, let's say I'm playing A minor Phrygian with it wasn't up there, but it should be up there with a major 13. Okay, if I play it up here, and give me a bass note, James.
Let's go with F sharp.
F sharp. Okay. But if I did that down here, so wherever you start, the voice lead is going to keep you in that zone and create compositions, new progressions. But more importantly, see, effortless, the way I came up with this stuff, not how I came up with it because I can't read a theory book, okay? I want the minimum amount of theory that creates the most amount of change. I think we all want that, but some people have the ability to study a theory book. ADHD, I look at the first page and then I start to twitch, you know? But then my gift was to be able to come up with theory that worked over and over again. It just broadens it, you know? And from the space, which is effortless mastery, without tormenting myself with results, get into a process. What a blessing. I can sit down today, just 2 chords, and you can say B flat, major 7 sharp 5. You can go to my hands. Okay, now let's say I'm going to do it, up here. Right? And they're pretty basic chords. What makes them so sophisticated is what it goes to. A flat, Phrygian with a major 2. If I do it up here, what was it? A Phrygian with a major 13. C sharp, major 7 sharp 9. The reason they're so interesting because they're random. The reason they're so musical is because they're voice-led. That we all know it. That's the answer, okay? The thing is, if you're committed to studying it for a while, this really starts to change your whole harmonic structure. If you're up to it, you know? Not for everybody, but it's for people that are playing, you know, reasonably sophisticated harmony and are bored by it. You know? This is a doorway to unlimited harmony. I think that's the way we build it. Unlimited harmony. C sharp major sharp, C sharp major sharp 9. And this is one of the exercises too. You stay on one note. Okay, C sharp, F sharp. I think I started today with that. C sharp, F. Just taking the chords that came out of that pedal, I could write a tune. You know? Then you write a melody based on those chords. You can even write a melody. I mean, I'm gonna do some composition in this too. If I go, I don't think I can do this in fast, but C sharp minor major 7. Whatever. A minor Aeolian. F sharp, Phrygian. A minor Aeolian. E sus. So even the motif you pick voice leads, but the chords stretch out where you go. If you go, most people will go, I don't want to play A minor, but damn. Actually, I find it beautiful. Let's say you're just doing these 2 chords. C sharp. Now, I saw a few Brazilians sign on that I know, so you'll recognize this sign. This is what Jobim was doing. Watch. I mean, maybe they didn't know they were doing it, but they were surprising themselves. You know, Yvonne Lynn's, one of my favorite songs, Come Sergeant Over. Oh, what can we play? Oh, I'm playing Cocoa. Yeah, even there, yeah. A flat. C sharp, C, B, A. It's not going to come to you that fast, I understand. But you're now opening the door with this, by the repetition of the system, applying it with a melody, without a melody. I want to show you one more thing. There was something Keith Jarrett wrote. How are we doing here? No, we're almost there. Now I'm going to save it for the course. Let us take you to the course. Sid?
So I'm gonna put the link to the course in the chat and you can view it. This is the page, the sales page that you're gonna, it's gonna take you to where you can register to the course. It's a 10-week long course and we start on March 14th and we'll have classes every week, Thursday, 1 p.m. to 12 p. Sorry, it's 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's 12 to 2 Pacific time. And this goes on for 10 weeks and the end of 10 weeks would be around somewhere in June, I think. And one of the things that you could do is there's an ability for you. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat and you have the ability to schedule a call with Kenny to speak with him for 15 minutes and kind of tell him your story so that he can let you know whether or not it's going to be, if this course might be useful for you. If you have any questions on whether or not this course is for you, this is an opportunity for you to utilize that time. And there are a few prerequisites to get into the course. Like Kenny says, you want to know what a Phrygian is, what a Locrian, what a Dorian is, what a Lydian is. Basic understanding of what the modes are, and a basic understanding to voice simple chords. And Kenny will also talk about this, but this is very good to have. And of course, if you're a monophonic player who doesn't have interest in arranging or composing, maybe this is not for you. This is mostly for pianists, guitarists, arrangers, composers, any harmonic, polyphonic instrument player or arranger. This this course is absolutely for you. And I have dropped the link, and you can visit the course page. Also, one moment. Let's see. Yeah, the course starts on March 49th, is every Thursday. And is there, do you have any questions? Do you want to say something about it, Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of it, I'll be revealing how you voice chords over and over again. I'll be revealing, but you'll also bring what you did in. We'll look at it in the class, and depending on the size of the class, you can be sending it to me and I could be making some corrections and sending it back to you. Because sometimes you're doing something, but you're doing it blind. You don't really know. And maybe you don't realize that the chord symbols you came up with through the random thing are really good, but maybe you need to see an example of why it is really good. You came up with it, but you don't really understand it. So there'll be some back and forth. You'll be generating examples, and then we add some melodic things to it. And then how getting to be able to use the chord menu randomly, and we'll look at it in class and I'll reveal more and maybe some other examples.
And about the registration, the first 5 people to register will also get a bonus one-on-one private lesson with Kenny. And also, if you are someone who registered before March 4th, there'll be a bonus class apart from the 10 group classes on voicings that Kenny will hold on March 7th. All of
those lessons or the bonus thing can be about anything you're struggling with music or excited about. Go ahead, Sis. I'm sorry. Interrupted.
No, and all of this is explained in great detail in the course page that I've sent you. Right after this masterclass, I'm going to send a video of this entire session with all the details about the course and all these little offers and the add-ons that you get, and the link to the sales page and the ability to register to it. And you can email me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer you. And you can, as I said, you can schedule some time with Kenny to speak with him if you want to if you want to know whether or not this course is for you. And Kenny, there was, sorry, someone had asked, what's the, I said about the, knowledge on modes and stuff, but someone asked, what's the basic, necessary or requirements that someone needs to have, prerequisites to be able to take the course. So Do you have anything?
I think you said it. You know, the biggest colors here are the modes, I mean, especially the minor modes: Phrygian, Aeolian, and minor major 7, which is not a mode. But just knowing the difference in those things so that we can voice chords. And dominant, you should have a working knowledge of the altered dominant chords, which is a dominant chord. You can put it on my hands again one more second, John. You should know about the sharp 11, the sharp 9, right? The sharp 9, the flat 9. You know, I mean, you don't have to know it. You'll learn it as we do it here, but it helps if you have a working knowledge of the modes and the dominant chords and the major chords, because juxtaposing them means starting with a premise of a certain, and just imagine you're voicing things every week. So if you've been waiting all your life to voice things, now you'll be doing it. But that working knowledge is enough to make some really far out stuff.
I have a few questions here from the chat about the course. There's one that says, "Is the course certified?" No, it's not. It's a course on Kenny's own proprietary method and approach on how he approaches voicings and harmony. There's no certification associated with it. Do I need to know all the chords in the key spontaneously, or just know the components of each chord?
You don't need to know them spontaneously, because if we pick a random bass note, now you will be building it up to whatever degree of familiarity or unfamiliarity you have. That's one of the sort of the benefits of it. Oh, wow, I might have played a C sharp, I might have played an Aeolian chord, but I always played it on A. Now I'm playing it on E flat. So it doesn't have to be spontaneous, because you have time to work it out yourself during the week. And if it seemed like I didn't understand what I was doing, I'll take a look at it and try to bring it in line with the same idea. And after a while, you start to see, oh, okay, this is how the chords go together.
Another
What
question,
other ones was it?
will we get exercises every week, or do we re-harmonize jazz standard tunes?
We will get to the point where first we want to get comfortable with the random harmony and voice leading that. Somewhere in the middle, I'll also put out just cycle of fifths, which is just another way of, instead of the bass line being random, it's going to be, and you're going to find that sounding really jazzy, but you never realized that was what that was about. Then we will try applying it to a chord. Once we're going to do that for a while. And once we're comfortable with that, you could take a standard and you'll pick random bass notes, and then you find notes that agree with that. And yeah, you'll definitely find endless reharmonizations of tunes. That's the thing. I could reharmonize a tune over and over and over again, just choose different bass notes. Getting onto that system, there'll be some repetition in it.
And we have another question: is will there be another session after this one? I'm enrolled in school right now, but I'm interested in a summer session if possible. The harmony course might take a year or year and a half or slightly longer to happen again. There might, and some related to that was someone's question about effortless mastery. That might probably the next course that comes. We're not sure of this yet, but right after harmony course, most probably we'll have the effortless mastery course. And then there's a course on lines and rhythm. Lines is about playing melodies and improvising over changes. And rhythm is a course to kind of make yourself a more rhythmic person. And after that cycle's over, we will get back to the harmony course, but I think it won't be for a year or year and a half after this course ends.
Right, but we're discussing ways of, we have to discuss it before we announce it. Ways of people to come in on the course that they actually missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I only kind of do one at a time. If I'm doing lines, I'm showing you how to connect lines the way it's never really been expressed before. And like this harmony has never really been expressed before. At some point, I start with the steps because that's what liberates people at their instrument. And we do that every year.
Is this course also as good for guitar players as for piano players?
It is for guitar players, but a lot of times we'll have to work out what is the representation of the chord for you. So it'll come up. And what 2, 3, or 4 notes can you use that represent that chord, and then how can you move it to the next chord. The important thing is to understand it on paper, because then you can adapt it to the guitar. And we've had guitarists before, and they came up with progressions that they didn't know were possible, but they understood them from a different point of view. It wasn't just intervals, it was actually representations of random harmony.
Great. Does anyone have any more questions?
We got another couple of minutes.
I just say I gotta go. Kenny, it was great to see you, and this is a fabulous idea.
Oh, okay. I think that's Robbie. I recognize your voice.
Yeah. So good to see you,
Well,
buddy. And I mean, I'm in. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I'll give
Oh,
a ringing endorsement to Kenny's teaching too. I was in the class with Robbie that just ended. So
I think the idea is for you to become drenched in a concept and then notice your playing changes. It's about your playing changing or your writing changing. This gets really powerful. So I hope I see you there.
Well, I won't be able to join you folks, but I also want to say I was on Kenny's Effortless Mastery weekend retreat last year. It was an absolute life-changing, game changer, everything. It was everything I expected and more. And I hope to join you in one of these courses soon in the future as well. Lovely to see you again,
Great.
Kenny. Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this. I
you.
really appreciate this, sir. So good to see you again.
It feels great to spread it around, that's for sure. All right, you guys.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you for, yeah. And those of you that didn't make it now, there's a lot of people that have the recording of it. So.
And I will send you a detailed everything that we spoke about the course and the recording that you can view, and go to register if you want to or not, and we'll send it over to you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Oh, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The music writes itself. Thank you, everybody.